Hello everyone. My name is Jalyn. I am a board certified lactation consultant and a mom of two. Today I wanted to talk to you about preparing for breastfeeding. A lot of times we talk about breastfeeding after a mom has started, but I really think it's important to discuss preparation for breastfeeding. And the more that I do this work, the more I am just really passionate about making sure moms are prepared, because what I've seen is that the moms that are prepared prenatally have better outcomes, and it's just becoming more and more clear to me that breastfeeding is a lot easier. There's less pain, suffering, and all the drama can be limited or at least reduced when a mom is prepared during her pregnancy. So if you're pregnant right now, obviously you're thinking about breastfeeding. Maybe you're in your second trimester, third trimester. It's really important to think about, where do you want to be in 12 months if you plan to breastfeed. We're going to talk about setting breastfeeding goals and how you can achieve them. One of the things I see a lot of is that moms don't plan at all, right? Or they have a vague sense of things. I might say, okay, what's your breastfeeding goal? If I'm asking someone during the pregnancy, they may say, I'll do it for as long as I can. Or, I don't know, I'll just see how it goes. We'll see if the baby latches. I don't know. I'm going to try to breastfeed. We'll see. A lot of moms are very vague about it. And I think that's because a lot of times there's a lack of confidence, right? There's a lack of confidence in the ability to breastfeed. I'm not going to even claim a goal at all because I just don't feel confident that it's going to happen for me. Sometimes I get moms that will say, yeah, I want to breastfeed for 6 months or maybe 3 months. I know I'm going back to work, so maybe 3 months. Or sometimes moms will ask me, oh, how long should I breastfeed? Sometimes I'll have moms that say, oh, I want to breastfeed a year, or as long as the baby will, I will breastfeed at least 2 years. A lot of times, especially with first-time moms, there's this vague answer, and I think it's because there's this hesitancy and this feeling like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. And I can understand why, because a lot of moms have problems with breastfeeding. If you have friends or family members, or maybe your mother struggled with breastfeeding, you hear all these horror stories about, oh, I was in so much pain and my nipple was cracked and bleeding and the baby wouldn't latch, and oh, I couldn't make enough milk. You hear all this stuff and it makes you feel like, ooh, I don't know how that's going to work for me. So I totally understand it. But as we know, pretty much anything in life that you want to do is going to require a plan. Any goal that you set requires a plan. SMART goals are really important. I don't know if you've heard that acronym, SMART. I probably can't remember the whole thing. Let's see, it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. When you think about breastfeeding, think about how can you create a SMART goal around it. And so it could be, I plan to breastfeed for 12 months. Of course, that's measurable and time. Obviously, there's a time around that. I want to breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months and without any pain. Pain is not really measurable, but it's specific. These are specific things that you can say, and it's realistic, right? Because we know that women can breastfeed exclusively. Women are made to do this. And so it's definitely realistic to be able to breastfeed for at least a year. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends breastfeeding for at least the first 12 months. The first 6 months exclusively, meaning breast milk, no solid foods. And then after that, a combination of food and breast milk. And of course, you can go longer than that. The World Health Organization recommends breastfeeding for 2 years or longer. Of course, you don't have to breastfeed a year. You can go shorter or longer. It's up to you. That can give you some parameters when you think about how long you want There is a quote that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It really holds true for breastfeeding. Taking a breastfeeding class before the baby is born, that's like the bare minimum you definitely want to have before you go into breastfeeding, because there's basic information everyone should know beforehand, and it'll just reduce stress and anxiety if you know just what to expect, what is normal, when should you actually worry. So at the bare minimum, you do want to prepare by educating yourself, taking a class of some sort. And that means doing more than watching a YouTube video, unless it's like a complete class. I don't know if there are some free breastfeeding educational courses online. I don't know of any offhand, but if you look for them, you can find them. It's important to make sure you're taking a full class, not just watching a video or looking at a post. It doesn't give you the full picture. I've talked to moms a lot where they say, oh, I'm so prepared. I've joined the Facebook group, looked at all these videos, and then ask, how do you know if your baby's getting enough milk? Do you know like one way that you would know that? And they're like, that's a key thing you want to know. Information like that is what you'll get in a basic breastfeeding class. At the bare minimum, take a class to prepare. The second tip I would have, let me look, I'm looking at my notes again. And I think I was gonna give you an example of planning for your goals, but I think most of us know that we have to do that when we want to reach a goal. If you wanted to go to college, you wouldn't say, I'm just gonna go to college. I don't know how long or what I want to major in or how long it's gonna take me. You wouldn't do that. You would say, I'm going to college. I'm going to put myself in a position to be able to get into the college of choice, and I plan to graduate in 4 years with this major. You have smart goals around going to college. But if you were to go into it like, oh, we'll see, then you probably wouldn't graduate, or it would take you like 6 years. Now, I'm not bashing anybody who took 6 years. Sometimes things happen and you get off course. That can happen with breastfeeding as well. At least you should start off with a goal, so that even if you get off course, you still have a vision of where you want to be. And that actually brings me to my second tip, is that it's really important to try to visualize your goals. So I don't know who said this. I don't know. Seeing is believing, and believing is achieving. When you set a goal, like taking that time to try to visualize what that looks like, that makes the goal more real. And your mind and body respond to that. I don't know where I heard this, but a lot of athletes actually use visualization to become better and to be winners. I think, and I'm going to be making this up, I don't know if it was Michael Jordan, some athlete would just spend time imagining throwing the ball and it going in the hoop over and over again, or track stars that imagine running and getting to the finish line, is what makes athletes achieve such great feats in sports. And we can also use that same approach to breastfeeding. One of the things you can do is close your eyes and I'm going to close mine right now, and just think about, what would it look like 12 months from now if you were breastfeeding successfully, whatever your vision of success with breastfeeding is. Would you be like, don't just think about how it would look, think about how you're going to feel emotionally. Like, what kind of emotions are you going to feel? You're going to feel a sense of peace or a sense of giddiness because you're looking down at your baby and she's looking up at you with all this love in her eyes, and there's milk coming out of the side of her mouth because she's getting so much milk, and you're hearing all these gulps because she's getting a lot of milk, and you're relaxed, there's no pain. You're so relaxed you want to just close your eyes and fall asleep for a minute. Maybe you can smell the milk, or maybe your baby, she smells so sweet. And you look at her and you see the rolls under her chin and her arms are so fat and juicy, and you're like, oh, all this is because of me, and this is because she's been drinking my milk for all this time. That's the kind of visualization that you want to do. Use all your senses to visualize what that would look like for you. And keep doing it. Make it a daily practice. So if you're pregnant right now, even if you've already had the baby, especially if you're struggling at some point with pain or with a baby that's not latching, just imagine, what is it going to look like when we're over this struggle, or when the baby is actually latching? What are you going to feel? How is the baby going to look when they're actually on your breast and they're not fighting you and resisting? Just imagine what that looks like, and keep doing it over and over again. And it may sound kind of woo-woo or whatever, but this type of thing, again, it works for athletes. It works for a lot of high-performing individuals, and yeah, it can't hurt. It can't hurt to do that, and it probably feels good, even if it doesn't change things right away. At least it will make you feel better, right? It'll make you less frustrated, less worried. It'll reduce your stress, just getting into that mode of, this is breastfeeding how I imagined it. So try it out. Like I said, it can't hurt, but the key is to practice it regularly. Don't just do it once. Keep doing it over and over again. If you're pregnant, I would definitely encourage you to start doing that now. Do it once or twice a day when you wake up or before you go to bed. Just take a minute or two just imagining, what's breastfeeding going to look like, when we're successful. Okay? Yeah. So I had another analogy with college that I was going to share, but it seems dumb now, but I'll still share it. Going back to the goal of going to college and graduating, I was a chemistry major, and I was a really good student before college and straight A's and all that stuff. But when I was in my second semester, my freshman year, I had organic chemistry. Everybody in the sciences knows organic chemistry is the class that weeds people out. That's where a lot of people will drop out of chemistry and decide, oh, maybe I'll do something else, because it's one of those difficult courses. It might have been my sophomore year, I can't remember. Most of the time, I didn't have to study that hard for a lot of my classes. I do a little memorization, but this class, I think it was the first time I got a D on a test. I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. How did that happen to me? I'm a straight A student, and it's usually easy for me. So I was a little outdone. I changed my attitude really fast because, one, I had a full scholarship and I didn't want to lose it. And I knew if I failed the class, I would lose my scholarship. And of course, I didn't want to disappoint my family or just look bad because I had failed a class when I had never done that before. So I figured I had to do something real quick so that I wouldn't fail this class. I decided to create a study group and learn some new study skills, because I wasn't really good at, before that I didn't have to study hard to do well in my classes. But I realized I had to develop some new study skills and create a study group and just really work a lot harder at passing. So I did that, and I ended up getting a B+. I was this close to an A-, but I had to come so far from a D to get my grades up that I think I ended up with a B+. But I was really proud of myself because I had definitely developed my resources and my support system and got to where I wanted to be. So that leads me to my third tip, which is visualization is not necessarily going to help you get to your goal. Creating a goal in and of itself is not going to get you to your goal. There has to be some execution. Visualization does help, but the other part is getting support, right? So at some point with any goals that we set, there's usually some challenges that come up. And so we have to figure out how we're going to maneuver and get back on course when those challenges come up. With breastfeeding, support is really important. I think a lot of us know that, but getting that support early on is really a crucial factor. And again, this is just something I know without it is what leads to breastfeeding success and good outcomes. If you are pregnant and you want to breastfeed, and you say you want to breastfeed 6 months or a year or longer, set yourself up for success by making sure that you are in touch with a lactation consultant and you have that person on hand and when you have any challenges, right? The earlier the better. As soon as you get out of the hospital, if you're having a hospital birth, call up a lactation consultant and have them come to your home or do a virtual consultation. You'd be surprised at how much you can do with just virtual consultation. So if you don't have anybody available that can come to your home, seek out a virtual consultation, because that can be just as effective. When you reach out for help early on, it's more likely that whatever challenge you're having is going to be easier to resolve. Even better than reaching out after you have a baby is reaching out to a lactation consultant before you have the baby. Prenatal consultations can be very helpful to make sure that you not only create a goal that is doable and realistic and smart for you, but also helping you create a plan and a strategy around how you're going to reach that goal. Sometimes there are health issues, there are certain risk factors that can become a challenge or make breastfeeding harder, and you want to know that before going into it, because that'll help you mentally be prepared for any struggles in the beginning. Definitely, I encourage you to, if you're pregnant, set up a prenatal consultation with a lactation consultant at some point before you have the baby. And then that person will already be available and you already have developed a level of comfort with that person. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments about what we discussed, feel free to leave a comment below, and yeah.